morning and welcome to our second Pure Hangout. I'm Sophy Searight, the content editor for Pure London. I'm very excited to be on the catwalk today as the show opens at Pure in Kensington Olympia, and I'm joined today by Isobel Kershaw and Nicky Hambleton Jones, who are going to be having a conversation with me today about styling and stylists in store. If you like what you can see, you must come down to Pure. There's still plenty of time to join us. We've literally just opened the show. Apologies for any loudspeaker announcements. We really are live, and I'm very looking forward to hearing what Nicky and Isobel have to say. If you'd like any more information about what Isobel and Nicky are going to talk about now, you can go to their website, which is nhjstyle.com. And on the flip side, if you'd like to join us at Pure, go to pure.com to book your ticket and come down and join us. Nicky and Isobel, thank you so much for coming in this morning, very early on a Sunday morning, so
very
I'm
early
eternally grateful. Could you tell me a little bit more about your background and what you're doing at the moment? Nicky, if we start with you.
Well, obviously most people know me from presenting 10 Years Younger, but actually prior to presenting 10 Years Younger, I set up NHJ Style about 15 years ago now, and what we offer is one-to-one styling for clients who want to change their look or just want some effortless styling for their wardrobe each season. But we also have the NHJ Style Academy, where we train people to be personal stylists, and we offer corporate consulting to large retailers and small retailers looking to either set up a personal shopping offering, revamp their personal shopping offering, or just improve the style advice and knowledge that their sales team have.
Fantastic. And Isobel, what's your background?
My background is I've been in the fashion industry since I was about 18 and I haven't left it. And now I'm working with NHJ Style and have been for 11 years as styling and training director. So I do anything from styling right through to training and retail consultancy.
And making the odd cup of coffee every now and then.
Exactly, anything.
The more coffee, the better. Yeah. So obviously a lot of the guests who are going to be joining us today are independent retailers and also retailers from larger multiples as well. Can you tell me a little bit about what the difference is between a sales assistant who would be working in many of those stores and a stylist? Where do you envisage the differences being?
Well, I think a sales assistant, does what's in the name. So they're supporting the customer to make the sale. So it's offering a customer a selection of stock in terms of sizes, getting other sizes, just basically assisting that customer when they're in that shop. They're very much sales driven. They've got targets to hit, and it's all about getting every customer that walks in to make a sale.
Sure.
Whereas the stylist is not sales driven. It's all about creating that customer experience. And ironically, the stylist will make huge amounts of sales when they're with the customer, but that isn't the focus of the day. It's very much ensuring that the customer has a good experience. They feel good throughout the day. They leave the session looking good. But more importantly, that they're actually also getting some knowledge and some advice and learning something throughout the process as well. So, it's not just about, a customer might say to a sales assistant, I need a pair of jeans, and the sales assistant will offer a collection of jeans.
Yeah.
They'll say the same thing to the stylist, and the stylist will say, right, this is the perfect pair of jeans, but I'm going to show you how to wear that jeans. And then we'll style the look around the jeans so then the customer actually can see the wearability and flexibility of that garment. So it's just offering, I think, an extra level in terms of advice and in terms of, ensuring that customer has an amazing experience rather than just makes a sale.
Okay. So from the client's perspective, you can see what they're getting out of it. They're going to look fantastic at the end. What do you find the retailer gets out of it? Because there's a lot of work in it for them on occasion that we've discussed before. What do they really gain, do you think?
Ultimately, they gain increased turnover, and we create significant single transactions. So we will choose their store if the brands work for our clients, and within a very short space of time, we will create a single transaction. I mean, it could be up to £1,500, £2,000. And you'll get very little return, if not no returns, based on that, because we are very much focused on every single item working for that client.
There isn't really any impulse buying. You're not going to be taking
no
it back.
impulse buying. It has to tick lots of boxes, and if it doesn't go in the bag.
Yeah,
so ultimately, turnover is what we bring to the retailer, and also we bring to the retailer new clients. So they might not have shopped in that store before. They might never have even considered putting on those brands. So once we've introduced that store to them, they can go back independently and shop on their own.
So once you've identified a great store with some lovely brands in it for your client, what's your approach when you get into the store?
Well, a stylist approach is one word, really focused. A stylist hasn't necessarily met a customer before they meet them on that day, but they'll definitely have some information about their customer. And what we tend to do at NHJ Style, obviously, is prepare for that client a day before. So we'll at least have their measurements, we'll know what they're looking for in terms of their lifestyle needs, their wardrobe needs, and also what their budget is. So we'll have a benchmark and what we're aiming for. And we will choose the retailers that we go to based on the ones that have got the brands that are going to fit that customer in terms of their body shape, in terms of their budget and their lifestyle. And we'll probably put some things aside before the customer even gets into store. And that's obviously, we've got the, it's easier for the stylist because you've got that opportunity to speak to a customer beforehand. But there's no reason why, especially small retailers can develop a relationship with a customer and encourage them to call ahead and say, tell me when you're coming in and I can put some things aside. So you can almost create that bit of a styling environment for that customer, replicating what a stylist do. And then when they get into store, again, it's about getting that customer into the change room as quickly as possible and providing them with a selection of things to put on. And it's not just about giving them items, it's about styling them in complete looks. So whenever a customer is trying something on, it's trying on 3 pieces. It's never just 1 piece. And I think that's the difference, because as a stylist, you want to demonstrate how a customer can look or use an item in terms of a whole complete look. Because often a customer will think, great, I need a pair of jeans or I need a pair of black trousers, or even if it's something they wouldn't normally consider a skirt, say for instance. Yeah. But there's always that mental block, how would I wear this, where would I wear it? It's not something I would normally wear. So as a stylist, you always try to demonstrate, this is what you'd put it with, this is how you'd wear it, this is how flexible it is. And really encouraging that customer to get out of their comfort zone and try new things. So yes, so when we come into store, it's about focusing on that customer, but being very productive. It's bang, 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 without making the customer feel like we're rushing them.
Yeah, absolutely.
But it's just, we also want them to make sure that we're on it. Yeah. They're not just standing there in their underwear in a cold change room waiting for us to get something else.
Yeah. It's interesting you mentioned actually what the independent retailers could do along a similar vein, and we'll find that a lot of the award-winning indie retailers will be calling their clients and saying, we've got this fantastic new stock in, I know you love blue, we've got these great new things in, and those are the ones that really develop a relationship with their clients, when perhaps if you're in a very large department store, that really isn't feasible for your salespeople to be doing that. So yeah, it's interesting that you mentioned that.
But if you have a personal shopping offering in a department store,
then they can do that.
Then you can offer that, even though it's a large retailer. Yeah,
for sure. And Isobel, once you get in the store and you've done your preparation, you've got your client there, how do you pick out the sort of ideal garments for them?
You've got to create a complete wardrobe every time. So I pre-prep a rail, and it's got to have basics, trends, framers, key updaters, everything that pulls a complete look together. Otherwise, that client won't really know how to put the look together. And a lot of customers and clients and women always, as Nicky said, buy a single item and say, I don't know what to wear it with. So we actually solve that problem for them. We've got to have a really lovely styling environment, because we're not just shopping, we're styling the client, and that is an experience. Supposed to traipsing around the shops aimlessly trying to find pieces. And because we've pre-prepped, because we know the store inside out, we know our brands inside out, and we cross-reference brands and mix them to create unique looks for our clients. So we never put anybody in the same outfit. And it's always got to match with their lifestyle. There's no point in putting a mum in a suit when she dog walks and goes to the gym and doesn't work. So we've got to really, there are so many different aspects of that rail that we have to consider when we're starting the client.
For your fragrance, what's a framer?
A framer is, for example, my jacket is a framer, so it's framing the print and the jeans. So it's something that literally does frame. You don't want too many pieces fighting on the body.
It pulls everything together, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
Together. And getting the stylist into the retail environment, you talked a lot about the experience and how it's not just traipsing from shop to shop. How can the retailers, perhaps those watching now, encourage stylists to come into their store?
Well, I think it's all about building relationships. If you've seen a stylist come into your store and the customer's had a great experience, they've had a good shop, you want to target that stylist and make sure as a retailer you're building that relationship with that stylist. Few things, make sure that you create an environment that makes the stylist able to have a good experience with their customer. So what does the stylist want? Or what is a customer going to benefit from? A lovely big changing room. And obviously a big retailer is limited with, they shouldn't be limited with space, but often the bigger the retailer, the smaller the changing room. Whereas the small independent retailers have a little bit more flexibility on how they can create a nice changing room environment. It's so important when that customer's spending a lot of time in the changing room as they are when they're with a stylist. So a lovely changing room environment, slightly more space, a bit of seating so the customer can sit down in between trying on outfits. Refreshments for the client and even the stylist, a glass of water, a cup of tea. Again, that's adding a little bit of extra value and making everyone feel loved and special. And being more flexible in terms of number of items that a stylist can take into a changing room. There's nothing more frustrating when you've got a salesperson going only 4 items, 6 items, but it's just like you can't style whole looks quickly on a customer, which is what you want to do. Short, sharp, and effective when you're styling a client. If you only limit to 4 items at a time. So providing the stylists with a rail, allowing them to be flexible on how much they can take in and take out, and swapping out stock, and giving them one of your sales assistants to support that stylist in terms of getting rid of the things that don't work. Again, you don't want a cluttered changing room with the customer actually lose track of what am I taking, what's working, what's not. So you want to get the stock that's not working out, and you want to get the stock that's working on a good rail. So really providing that support for the customer and for the stylist, I think makes a really great experience for them. And also getting to know your stylist by name. So when they encouraging them to phone in advance so that they can say, look, I'm bringing a client in tomorrow. Can I put some stock aside for them? Keep it overnight, no problem. We'll have something available for you. And then when they walk in the store, greet them by name. Make sure everyone knows who they are, so that there's not that sort of standoff factor, like who is this in my shopping environment, which can happen. There's a bit of tension sometimes between the stylist and the sales assistant. Greeting them by name, and so that the customer actually feels, wow, I'm with someone who makes the stylist feel special, makes the customer think, wow, I'm with someone who knows the store well, increases the confidence for the whole shopping environment.
You mentioned earlier actually that there sometimes can be a slight sense of competition between the stylist and the sales assistant, which in fact obviously doesn't make sense in the long run, because the sales is still making the sale. So it can only be a win. Just to give me an idea, how long would you normally spend in a changing room with a client if you've got so on an average trip?
Well, you're not in one store when you're with a client, because you're aiming to target a number of stores to get the whole wardrobe and a selection of brands. I would say you wouldn't want to be in one retailer for more than an hour max, but often it's half an hour to 45 minutes. So you really are you're putting the stock in there, you're getting the customer, yes, no, yes, no, yes, no, and then you're showing them the complete look, and then you're out.
Okay. And have you ever asked a retailer to open late for you or open a little bit early?
Well, opening early is sometimes tricksy, but definitely stay on late, absolutely. And again, that is the benefit of the smaller independent retailers, because it's much easier to develop that relationship with the bigger retailer. I mean, the bigger retailers are open, they've got much longer hours anyway, but the smaller retailers, you can really work with them to say, actually, I've got some clients who can only shop, corporate clients, after work. Could you stay open an extra hour? And they know you're going to make the sale. So, that's, and we've had a few meetings with some key retailers recently, haven't we, where they said, look, just call ahead. We will, be flexible on opening hours, give you a special change room, make sure your clients have got tea and coffee. And then it just creates that much, feels like you're getting something extra to offer your customer.
Yeah, well worth doing. And is there anything specifically that would tend to put you off from going into a store? You've mentioned lots of the things that would attract you there. Is there anything specific that really might turn you off?
I think if we're not welcomed, when we were styling maybe 10 years ago, the retailers weren't really sure about what stylists did. They were just these people who came in and then
moved everything
everybody around. And when I train girls to be stylists, I say, please make friends with your retailers. Go in there the day before, go and speak to them and say, I love your stock, I love your shop. And that just breaks down those barriers. The thing that I really don't like is when I'm limited to the stock that I can take in. But I have built relationships with department stores, with small independent retailers. I can take stock out from boutiques now, because they know that if I take it to my client, I will sell it to them. If I've pre-chosen that, it will go in the bag. So it's always only a win-win situation at the end of the day.
Flexibility being key. So if we could look a little bit now at tips for some of our retailers, so how they could really be maximising their sale and making a really lovely shopping environment. What do you think is the most common styling mistake when you're going into an independent retailer? You're looking at the interior of the shop. What would tend to be the errors that you might spot often?
Well, the errors, what I would say is often it's very bland. You walk past the store and there's just nothing exciting in that shop window. There's nothing that's really eye-catching. And you walk inside the shop, there's a lack of color, there's a lack of interest, and it's just not jumping off at the customer. And even though your customer may not necessarily have the confidence to try some of those pieces or wear some of those pieces, it's all about aspiration. It's all about engaging that customer. So I think that's really a key thing. And also it's the lack of added value styling advice. It's all about pushing that sale onto their customer. And if you can add a little bit of extra value just through some top tips or making a few key suggestions on things that could go together, the customer's getting so much more and is probably going to buy more than they originally set out when they first walked in. And so many times when I've been out styling clients, I'll be, outside the changing room with my client, and there'll be another customer in the next changing room with the sales assistant outside, and I can just hear the sales assistant going, "That looks amazing! You've got to buy it." And the customer comes out and is like busting, and do you think it's a bit tight? And she's like, "No, you must get it." And I'm just thinking, "Oh my goodness, she's so going to go home. She's never going to wear it. It's going to come back," and it just, it just puts her off going in that store. Going, "God, if I see that pushy sales assistant
I've been on the receiving end of that myself many a time.
You go, "I'm never going there." Whereas, if the stylists were trained with a little bit, it doesn't have to be a lot, but just some basic styling skills, it gives them more confidence to engage with the client and be honest about, actually, let me get your size down, or actually that shape's not working, let me try something else. They're still going to make a sale, but the customer's going to feel better, look better, and probably come back for more.
And when our retailers are in a buying environment like the one we've got here, in terms of when they're going to go back to the store and put their stock out, what sort of recommendations would you have in terms of the buying choices that they could be making to make the store look more appealing and make bigger sales eventually?
I think in terms of how you buy possibly more for the boutiques, is make sure that you're not necessarily buying for yourself. Remember who your customer is, and that creates more variety. And buy with complete outfits in mind. Make sure you have your basics that gel a whole look together, because that will increase sales. If somebody doesn't know how to put the look together because you haven't got the product, they probably won't buy anything, and that's key. Colour, colour is really missing from buying these days. People are playing too safe, I think, and they'll say, "Well, my customer doesn't like colour," but it's because you're not buying the colour. And if you train your staff effectively, they will introduce colour into people's wardrobes and show them how to wear it properly, and that injects excitement and something new from the buying aspect of the customer. They'll go out of the shop, but their friends will say, "Oh, that's fantastic," because you notice colour a lot. They say, "Oh, it's a lovely orange top you're wearing. Oh, I got it from this boutique," and then they might go and have a look themselves. But if people are wearing neutrals, that doesn't have that same effect.
We were talking earlier, about putting neutrals in the window, weren't we? And obviously you're going to go, you need to buy a white t-shirt sometimes, but it's not going to draw you into a shop. I certainly never would. I'm dressed as a peacock.
And also, how many black jackets does someone need in their wardrobe? And I think there's always the same stuff in especially small retailers. You see the same type of thing the whole time. Black trousers, same, black jacket. It's just like, have a few, keep it just out there, just something different, completely different, because that is what's going to draw your customer in, and you'll probably find and become an unexpected bestseller because it's totally different. People want different things in their wardrobe, and they also don't want to look like Joe Blogs, like everyone else. And so if you've got those few signature elements, where it be accessories or a color or a print or something that can give that individual that point of difference, and that backs up with the sales team that's got a little bit of styling expertise and showing a customer how to wear it, the type of items that become your best sellers will completely change.
And also from a buying angle, if buyers bought as a stylist would buy, they would probably have far better sell-throughs. And I think that connection actually between a buyer and a stylist is key, because the stylist just drives sales. They're not assisting. They can actually make their collections into the top sellers, because a stylist has chosen that fabulous pair of jeans or that great jacket or that print top, and they will keep putting their clients in that in different kind of looks, but they will create top sellers for the buyers.
So how would they do that? If they were looking to do that on a practical standpoint, to work more closely with stylists or buy more like a stylist, how would you recommend that they went about doing that?
I think it's really good to just get a collaboration with a top stylist, a top style company, such as NHJ Style.
We do work with retailers on that as well, because we know what their customer is, and we know what the customer's buying when they're in store, and we know what we can't get in the store, and we'll say, we need more of this, we need more of that. Customers really want that, they're loving this, but there was such a small collection of it, or there's definitely get more of this brand. So we've got that hands-on knowledge with the actual customer on the shop floor, which I think is really unique, because most people, as Isobel was saying, are distant from the shop floor. You're in an office, you're out there at Pure buying for your customer, you're not with that customer, you're not putting customer in things, and that's what we do. And I think that's really that competitive edge we offer retailers, is that we know exactly what their customer is going to buy, but we also know how to encourage them to purchase more.
We talk about data a lot in terms of relying on sales data to pick bestsellers, and that is a hugely important part of buying, but also a combination of data plus knowing the customer personally, knowing what's coming through is obviously very important. If you could distill everything we've just said down to 3 easy points, that'd be great. So if you were going to pick 3 points to help independent retailers really stand out from the crowd, and that's what they need to do, they're not competing online with Debenhams or Selfridges, they're trying to stand out in their own niche. How would you recommend that they did that from your point of view?
Well, I think, what the advantage the independent retailer has is that they're not a big store. They're not tied into certain brands. So you can offer something more unique and different. And, for customers that are looking for that point of difference, it's an ideal opportunity. But what they need to do is, number one, create more of a buying experience. At the moment, most independent retailers, it's very much driven by a selling experience. So it's like displaying stock and a way to make that sale. You've got your sales assistants focused on, you walk in, can I help you today? Oh, intimidated, immediately puts the customer on edge. I've done it before where you pick up a few things you're just thinking about, and next thing it's grabbed off you, it's in that change room, and now you go, oh, but I didn't really know if I want to try that on, and now I feel compelled to try it on, and then I'm like, the whole thing becomes really awkward. So create a buying experience, give the customer freedom to move. Of course, greet the customer and engage with them, but not immediately they walk in, to make them feel comfortable, offer them a cup of tea, give them time and space and all of that. And if they want to try something on, great. Don't just rush everything into the change room, let them make a decision, give them a rail to put things on and look at, talk through the new collections if there's that opportunity. So, and just create more of a relaxed, free environment. Almost like the reason people go to larger stores is because they don't feel intimidated.
Yeah, that's true.
So you want to create that environment, but with the personal angle in a smaller retailer. So that's number one. The other thing I think is create energy and movement in store. Now, no one is going to go into a retail, and I certainly work myself, where there are no other customers in that store. And you can't guarantee there's always going to be customers in that store. So I think what's really important is to make sure your salespeople are looking and acting like a customer. They're dressed in a look, head to toe, a look, not just an item from the shop floor, because again, that's aspirational for the customer to look at. Are they not just folding something or standing behind the cash desk, putting a rail together, dressing a mannequin, maybe just trying something on in the change room. Just look like a customer, because it makes the customer feel, okay, great, I'm not the only one. Everyone's not going to go, what can I do for you today? And also the more energy in store in terms of the music, and not too loud, again, understanding your customer, or not too soft, but it just helps that customer feel relaxed. And the third thing is, lifestyle your store around your customer. And I think, interior home stores do it very well, and that the shop window will be dressed in an aspirational way in terms of the dining room or the lounge or the garden that customer would like to have. And I think fashion retailers, we talked about shop windows, that's a great way to draw someone in, but lifestyle it, and then lifestyle the whole store around their customer. So even having things that aren't necessarily clothes related on offer that the customer can engage with. Make sure if you display clothes on a rail, that it's, again, the customer can immediately relate in terms of how they'd like their wardrobe to look. Don't just have like items on a rail, have outfits on a rail, have a great outfit style up with accessories on a mannequin. Always have accessories in store. I think, so many indies don't have enough accessories, and that is such a quick win. It pulls things together.
Shoes particularly. Often find there's necklaces, etc., but shoes is difficult to find.
And even the necklaces are really boring often, and it's just, like someone like a Zara does so well on their statement jewelry at an affordable price point. Indies, if they did that better, then customer probably buy that with an outfit. It helps you dress a complete look together. So it's all about your target customer and really understanding how they'd like to feel, how they'd like to look, and making sure your store is totally geared around that.
Yeah, okay, fantastic. And just looking at companies that you think are doing a great job at the moment. So if we're going to just reel off a couple of names where you think, wow, they've really nailed it, and a good example for those watching, who would you pick out?
I think in terms of big stores, funnily enough, especially in terms of customer service and the styling experience, Debenhams Personal Shopping Suite in Oxford Street are doing really well. But that's because they've invested in great training, and they've created a great personal shopping environment. The product's right for their customer, and the training makes the difference. In terms of small single brands, I really like Ted Baker. I feel that they're a very strong brand. They've got a great work ethos. They've been trained very carefully. I feel that Ted Baker cares about their customer. They care about their customer. They don't necessarily have huge amounts of styling experience, but they've got a very good selling experience. And you know that if you go into a Ted Baker, that they know their stock and they give a good customer service.
Okay, fantastic, lovely. that's all we've got time for. So thank you so much for joining us. Nicky's actually going to be back with us tomorrow at 12:30 doing a longer presentation. And she's going to be using some models and giving us some styling tips. So I'd highly recommend coming down for that. If you don't already have a ticket for Pure, go on pure.com and get yourself a free ticket, and you can come and see Nicky in person tomorrow. We also have seminars from Facebook, Disney Roller Girl, who's a fantastic blogger, The Dressing Room. Sandra Rhodes is doing a retrospective tomorrow night. So it's going to be a really, really busy show, and I highly recommend coming on down. In the meantime, thank you very much for joining us, and I'll look forward to seeing you at our next Google Hangout.